This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
Hello, everybody. This is Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio. I have taken a bit of a pause, as you can tell. There's been no shows for the past several weeks, just end of school stuff and then vacation stuff and all sorts of fun stuff like that. And now we're back into the grind of it all. And we are going to jump right in because I have a fabulous author who I absolutely adore talking to and even communicating online while we're not even talking to each other about books, because she's fabulous and funny, and she just has the most amazing Instagrams and fan pages. So, and Honey Parker's been here before. She was here when she talked about her first book, Carefulish, and then she came back for Daughter of Carefulish. Well, now we have the third of the series, The Bride of Carefulish. And if you don't know anything about Honey, she's been creating in one form or another for decades, advertising, creating. She's done screenwriting. She's a comedian, all these amazing books. She's done previous books about business. And so, but this is her first foray into writing a fiction book. And she's dreadfully funny. So she's got her Instagram page, her fan page, links are on the write-up of the show, and then you can find her on her website, Instagram, and Facebook. And the newest book, Bride of Carefulish, is out now, and you can get all three books, which you should. And welcome to the show again, Honey. How are you?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm travel weary, but I'm good.
So you're you're traveling way up east, like New Hampshire, Vermont, that area right now.
Yeah, I'm in New Hampshire right now, yeah. And
okay.
We just drove here from Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, which if you don't know it, most people don't, it is on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, about 50 minutes east of New Orleans.
Okay. And what is compelling you to make this very long journey?
I don't sit still well.
Okay.
It's a big part of that, and so you kind of understand because of where you live. The Mississippi Gulf Coast is a wonderful place, but it is hot right now. It is so hot, so it's a great time to get away. And people love going there right now, which is just shocking to me. But this is when people vacation there, so we avoid the crowds and the mega heat, and we'll go back when it's wonderful again.
Yeah, we call them, like in South Texas, we call them winter Texans, because a lot of people will come, like, Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin, all this stuff, and they'll come down here from, say, November to, March, and they stay along the coast, and then they go back. So it's kind of a flip, because they don't want to be dealing with excruciatingly cold weather. So, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's going to be well over 100 today in San Antonio. So, yeah, I totally understand.
So nice.
Yes. Oh, so nice. So nice. And we did get a rainstorm, which was great because, of course, the concern always is if it rains, is it going to be, like, grossly humid after? Or is it going to feel, like, clean, like the air's clean and it's cooler?
Right. Is it going to be that refreshing, like, go outside right now because it's amazing, or
hurry,
for the love of God, never leave the house.
Right, just shave my head because there's no use in having hair right now on my head. I laugh at myself because I grew up in Houston, and I remember every day in high school getting up and doing hot rollers in my hair. I would get up an hour early, do hot rollers, would just meticulously roll. It was the time of blue eyeshadow and Aquanut. And I would do all this, and then I would walk outside, and I'd have it in a ponytail by first period. I don't even know why I bothered, because
I had curly hair, so there were no hot rollers for me.
Yeah, mine was more like a wavy.
I used to joke. Yeah. It just gets mine just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, my hair was at its best in Park City, Utah, because it's so dry. I was like, I should never leave this town.
This is perfect. Right here, this hair. There it is.
Yeah.
So if I could have this hair everywhere, just take it. So as you traveled up, this amazing journey that you've gone from the Gulf Coast all the way up to New Hampshire, I see that you've been documenting and posting things about your books and so of your readers. What has been the biggest shock you've seen or something that readers have said to you about your books?
Oh, my gosh. People will assume that one of those characters is me. And,
right.
And so it's interesting how that shifts from one book to the next, where somebody's is pretty. There, people are like, you're Steph, because Steph's parents 100% are my parents. That is, there's nothing hidden there. Steph's parents are my parents, and her hair is my hair, except for she always blows it dry, which I don't.
Right.
But then people, like in this last book, Kimmy, like all of a sudden a few people noticed, they were like, oh, Kimmy's like, you are commitment phobic. And there you are. so sometimes I get spotted. But I think how much people keep saying, oh, this really quirky thing, that's me. Like, did you happen to look in my window and catch me doing that?
Right.
So, yeah. It's
interesting.
And most of the quirks are mine, quite frankly.
Right. And, I think we write what we know. I know this.
Yeah.
I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I go, and I've asked people for permission, but, when you talk about writing what you know, if somebody shares something with me that I just think is hysterical, it's just this great piece of business that just comes out of being human, and this ridiculous thing they did. And like in this last book, there's a shower scene, and it's completely from friends of mine, and they had told me this story years ago, and I thought, man, I would love to use that story somewhere. And there was room for it in the third book, and I said, can I use this? And they said yes. And so in it goes.
What's funny, though, is when we're asking permission to write certain scenes that we feel like everybody we know is going to know who this person is or the scene is, or the people that you're writing about. In the grand scheme of things, they don't. Like, there's 99.999% won't know. But I always find it interesting what people think what people completely like go off the deep end to fabricate. And
yeah.
It's because I worked ER for years, and my mom's like, so how'd your shift go? And I would kind of tell her in general, because, HIPAA, you don't want to, and a lot of times I wouldn't remember people's names anyway. I was just like, I treated, Mr., having issues today. And so, but it was interesting because I remember a couple of times my mom looked at me and goes, you're making that up. I'm like, I really wish I was. I really do. People are.
I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I have one character that I don't think they will ever realize that a lot of it came from them. And I'm hoping they never do. Hoping they never do. But everything else, like this one thing in the shower scene, it's so specific that, it clearly was them. And it was just like this thing that they did. But in general, characters and some of my characters, like the Joy, is truly based on no one. Just she is a complete fabrication. And she says like everything I wish I could, but no.
I love making characters like that. It's like, man, if I was in this situation again, I would so say this. You're just like typing away, like, I would.
Yeah, she was just like, and it was, you asked me what was surprising to me about the books, and this was kind of surprising, because you're so close to something that you're writing and you're creating, that you don't necessarily see certain things that other people see. And that is that the Joy is, and that's for anybody who hasn't read the book, she uses the article with her name. She doesn't call herself Joy. She calls herself the Joy, which lets you know a little bit what kind of crazy she is. But people have said to me, she is the center of the group. She's the one, she's the leader. And I really honestly hadn't thought about her that way. But when people said that, I realized, oh yeah, she is holding this whole nutty ship together.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, you're right. We do get invested, I think, sometimes tunnel vision on certain characters. And have you had people come to you and say, "Are you going to write a book about so and so now?" Like a character that needs their own storyline, like shoot off.
Yeah, and I had really, and I at some point I may get to it. I kind of had this idea for Benji. On this side trip, and I actually planted a small seed for it in the second book in case I decided to do it. You know,
sure.
You would then go, oh my gosh, that's why that happened. That was never explained.
Right.
But then I've had people say, and this is kind of nutty to me, and I find it interesting. Like, would I ever write a book that is just the parents?
Right.
Because the parents are so involved, you know, the characters are in their 20s, and not that our parents have less, you know, meaning in our lives as we get older, but maybe you start to understand the dynamics more. But parents are so strong in our world, you know, those seeds that they've planted are just kind of with us, and these people, like, their relationships with their parents come and go throughout the books. And like in this last one, Kimmy's parents hold a lot of sway on her. And people have asked if I would just write a book that is the parents' point of view of this whole craziness.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the different points of view, you definitely can get kind of a well-rounded. But again, it's how deep do you want to go? How much do you want to give readers, or let them kind of create their own, you know, dialogue with all of it? You know, I think it depends on how well the characters are talking to you.
And I do, like, I think, you know, as I've written the books, and we've got, I'll say 6 main characters, but it's kind of expanded as the series has gone on, because we've got significant others now in the game. And I try not to lay everything out. I try to let some things happen kind of like off screen, if you will, so people can fill those in.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I don't like to just put 100% everything out there. You know, I remember, I think my husband had told me this, in the movie The Fugitive, right before Harrison Ford jumps into the water, off of the dam.
Right. Right.
And there was originally a long scene written there. You know, when Harrison Ford is saying, you know, I didn't kill my wife, and then they originally had Tommy Lee Jones go through this whole speech to him, and they got rid of it, and they changed it to just Tommy Lee Jones saying, when after Harrison Ford says, I didn't kill my wife, Tommy Lee Jones says, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's not why he's there.
Yeah, and that's the crux of it is, it doesn't matter. I have to take you in. That's it.
So all these other words were there in his mind, but he didn't say them all. And I kind of love that.
Yeah, there was it's fun to see those kind of movie, you know, backstories. There was one it's circulating for years about Indiana Jones, where the scene where he comes in the crowd and it splits, and there's a big guy with the sword, and he, you know, apparently the guy with the sword had practiced for weeks for the scene, and it was this whole drawn out thing. And Harrison Ford apparently, as the story goes, was sick. He was just like, I'm not feeling it today. And he said Indy would just shoot him. He wouldn't even try to be. So he just walks up and he just improvises and shoots the guy, you know, the character. And they were like, oh, well, that works. And that was it. You know, and I just thought, well, poor for the guy with the sword, you know.
but it became
it made
such
a better,
an iconic
it made a better choice.
scene.
Yeah. It is.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
Way better. Yeah, it was fantastic.
for anybody who's catching up with us, so Honey wrote this book during quarantine, and Careful-ish is the first one, and it's 6 friends in their 20s. They're dealing with COVID. They're quarantined in New York, and they're trying to keep some sort of a semblance of normalcy and sanity and everything else. And of course, as we all did during lockdown, we're all kind of reevaluating how things should go. Maybe we should try these different things. Maybe we should change. And I love the fact that in the second book, Daughter of Careful-ish, you're like, and what have we learned? Nothing. Nothing. So, I mean, human nature is what it is, right?
And I think that ultimately these books are just a drawn-out study in human nature. And,
sure.
And I love human nature, and I love, when I just said less is more as far as dialogue, but I love dialogue. I love what people say versus what they mean. I love speech patterns. But, yeah, human behavior, in the first book, I kept thinking, what was going on with all of them in the middle of, so the pandemic is new and they're all kind of locked in because they're in New York City. So that was really locked down. Those people didn't leave their apartments. It was, what is my purpose? And because I was just hearing that from so many people, like what's my purpose now that I'm stuck in the house? And then with Daughter, as we all kind of got used to it, it went kind of beyond themselves, and it was a little more about what do I owe others. And in Daughter, somebody has to deal with a parent who had an injury and going to deal with them. And so part of that one is set in Florida. So that is, what did we learn? Nothing, because I had friends in Florida, and I was seeing what they were doing. I'm like, you people are crazy. You people are just nuts. And then with Bride, when we've had this for so long now, what feels like so long, and we're starting to kind of find our equilibrium, it was like, okay, well, how do we move forward now?
Right.
And so that's like what I was thinking in the changes of the books, but they're all, a lot of them learn nothing.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting because it hit, and then the first really big lockdown was right near spring break. So then the kids did it with a joke was, no, don't send them for spring break this year because they never went back last year. And so they, summer was 5 months long, which the kids were ecstatic about. And my kids got very used to going to class in pajamas. But it was one of those things. So by the time the next year rolled around, and vaccines are out, and we're seeing decreases in everything, and we've gotten our shots. Yeah. Our kids decided we'd like to go back, and they would wear masks and everything. But our oldest was a senior, and now she's her last 9 weeks of high school, and she's like, meh, and she had dealt with it fine. It was kind of a prep for college. Like, you have to be self-motivating at this point. So when we got to graduation, it was like a full-blown graduation. Like, it was down at the convention center, and you could wear masks, not wear masks, whatever. And I'm just looking around going, guys, we're not out of this yet, So and all has been okay for us. We've been extremely lucky because we've done what we needed to do. But it's amazing how, and you've seen it too. People will be super smart with this and super dumb with this. Like, there's no rhyme or reason for it.
Initially, that's why I came up with the title Careful-ish, because the ish was because we all rationalize everything we do. And,
of course.
I did COVID at the base of a ski resort in Utah, which was a nutty place to do it, but kind of wonderful because we had all of this outdoor available to us, and I hiked through COVID and I skied through COVID. And my friends in New York City, I had a friend who didn't leave her apartment for 87 days.
Wow.
And my friends in LA were really, really locked down. But then again, my friends in Florida, they would say, oh, we're being so careful. And then you'd see pictures of them at restaurants and this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, careful clearly means something different to you. But I'm sure my friends in L.A. saw me skiing and thought I was like that nuts loco out of my mind. You know, like, how could you do that? But to me, I was being careful. And I justified skiing.
But you weren't near anybody. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I'm far away from people, and I'm not. You know, it's all this idea if it's all or nothing. It's like it doesn't mean you can't go outside. Just don't go sit in a crowd of 100 people.
I remember walking up Main Street in Park City because I had to drop my books off at the bookstore, a physical bookstore, which is nuts. And walking up Main Street, I realized how isolated I had been because it felt like this dystopian novel. Like I'm smelling restaurant, like people cooking in a restaurant. That's crazy, and people at a bar, and we had just avoided all that. We had our little 6-pack of friends that we were together in the very beginning. I remember one of the women saying, do you think this is really going to be a thing? Is this going to last? And these were the 6 people we were with, and we just stayed with them. So that was our social. And it was so strange to be with other people or that close a proximity to so many people. Yeah.
And it's hard because people are social. I mean, the joke was, oh, yay, all the introverts are so happy right now. But, I mean, it was one of those things where after a while, I mean, you want to be social. You got to talk to somebody.
We did that, and that's hard. We did that, standing Zoom call thing with our friends here in New Hampshire who we're with right now. And we had every Tuesday night for years. We did this. And she was actually the one who originally suggested, she was like, you should write a sitcom about this. And that's how Careful-ish started.
Right. Isn't it funny how just that little trigger sometimes, just like, you're right, I should do that. For that first, I remember talking to you.
Why not?
Right, why not?
Yeah.
I remember talking to you about the first book, and it didn't, you sat down and just really, punched out the words. You had a pretty good plan in your head. And how many days did it take you to write the first one?
6
Do you remember?
Weeks.
Okay.
It took 6 weeks for the first pass.
Okay. And then did you have plans for 3, or did you just say, let me see if I can do this one first?
Well, my husband was the one who suggested that I should write a novel because I wrote the pilot for the sitcom, knowing full well that likely nothing would ever happen to it. And he said, well,
sure.
If you write it as a book, it'll exist in space. And I thought, that sounds good.
Exactly.
So about 3 chapters in, he said, and it has to be a trilogy. I was like, what's that? He said, because your third book sells your first book. And I just, it was the beginning of COVID, and we were all locked in, and I was happy when I was writing, and I just didn't question it. So in my mind, I started to structure, because I had already known where I wanted the first book to end. I knew exactly how I wanted the first book to end. And so I started thinking, well, what are the other points that I would want to make, and what is their journey, and how would I kind of chunk it out into 2 more sections. So that was it. And I knew that in the second book I would want somebody to leave town so we could experience some of the rest of the world. And, and I knew how the third one had to end too. But there was a ton of stuff in the middle that was just like utter surprise.
Yeah, characters
I did not see coming.
Did stuff. Right, characters started doing stuff. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, this might work. Yeah.
Exactly. That happened in the very first book, and it was Kimmy and the Joy, and I thought, well, this would just be, you guys just look like you're running towards this huge mistake. And I thought, you know what? It's them. I will let them run, and they will clean it up. They will clean up their
right.
mess. Yeah. So, is that balance of planned, not planned.
That's what's so fun about writing, and anybody who's not really a writer in the sense of having sat down and fought with these imaginary people in your head, it really is a journey, because they're gonna throw something sideways at you, and yeah, it's a bizarre thing, and that's why it's important to have writer friends, because you don't have someone looking at you saying, do I need to call somebody for you, that you're fighting with imaginary people. Your writer friends just like, oh yeah, I had this one time. It just like makes sense. So I with Careful-ish, you have people that they're kind of thrown together, but then they kind of get each other. So it's that comfort, that cocoon that we all kind of strive for as adults.
Well, I think it's that kind of like turning your friends into family thing that a lot of us do, particularly if you move, when you go to a new place and you start pulling these friends, and your close friends become your family, and these are all people that knew each other in high school, even if they weren't all really, really close. So then when they rediscovered themselves in New York, that's what they did. They kind of became each other's family. So the really awful behavior and the stupid things you do, while in the beginning you piss your family off, eventually they forgive you because it's family, and, you get past it. Right.
We, my husband and I and the kids took a big trip to New York a few weeks ago, and okay, so here's anybody who goes to New York. If you are plotting out your walking distance to something, make sure that it's on walking, because I thought it was a 20-minute walk from our hotel. From our hotel to the American History, National History Museum. And after 20 minutes, we're not even to Central Park. I know something's very wrong. And it's not cool, but it's not terribly hot. And I'm thinking, what is going on? And I had it on drive, like if we had taken a car. So it was more like an hour. But I will say that we got our steps in that day, and we saw a lot of New York. So it really kind of depends on how you want to play it. But so just make sure that you're on walking. Yes, it was.
And I'm so curious.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no,
it was. What was the scene like in New York? Were people mixing, mingling, all that?
It was good. We went to some shows. Masks were mandated. Everybody wore them. I didn't hear anybody complaining about it. When we were in the History Museum, people had to wear masks. Anytime it was an inside thing, you had to wear a mask. And I didn't see anybody complaining. I'm sure there were. But no, I didn't see anybody griping about it. And then it was actually quite pleasant. It was busy. There's a lot of people. There's times I had no idea. We were trying to do the double-decker bus, the hop on and off bus. You had to catch it at the M&M store, which my kids were absolutely thrilled by. And then we finally get on the bus, and we're trying to get to the 9/11 Museum, because we've gone to Empire State Building in the morning. I'm like, we'll take the double-decker bus, and then we'll go to 9/11, right? And it's just parking. It's just a parking lot of traffic. Mm-hmm. And I can't figure out what's going on. Well, I didn't realize that there were two major parades going on that day. So one was for Romania and Romanian immigrants, and one was for Puerto Rico. And so needless to say, there was a lot of traffic. So we saw a lot of, like, the east side of New York, like Manhattan, at a very slow pace. But it was cool, because it's like, and on your left you can see, the 7,500 square foot Harry Potter store. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, it was just fun. It was one of those things where it's like, well, we'll get there. It'll be fine and all good. And, it's a vacation. We just relax. It's not going anywhere. So
you're clearly not
no,
from New
people
York.
were lovely.
A New Yorker would not have just like kind of rolled with it like that.
No,
New Yorker
and I
been
get
totally
that part.
Put out.
Yeah, just furious. But I mean, we could have hopped on the metro, you know. But I mean, we paid for the stupid bus thing, and by God, we were using it. So, and it's one of those moments. I'm
Nothing
like, no,
wasted.
we're going to see New York this way. Oh yeah.
I've made this
but it was
mistake,
good.
and I'm going to see it through.
That's right. Nobody tell me anything different. We did stay at a lovely little, it was a boutique hotel called Luma, and it was right near Bryant Park. But if anybody goes to New York, it's right off of 42nd and, was it 41st? And the Bryant Park, right there. But if you get a room that's in the front of the hotel, you could literally sit in your room on New Year's Eve and watch the ball drop and never go to Times Square. Like, you would see all of it. So that's my plug for that.
I never, when I was a kid, I thought Times Square would be the coolest thing for New Year's. And then when you grow up and you realize what is involved in New Year's Times Square, which could not go in the book because it is like so not social distancing. But you're like in a pen. You're literally like in a pen for hours. That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Like my first thought is
even,
bathroom. Is always bathroom. How do you go to the bathroom?
Where do you go? And there's like 8 Starbucks, and I'm not kidding. Anybody who's not been to Times Square, literally like 8 Starbucks within a block radius around Times Square. So I can't imagine how filled those bathrooms are, and how many times people buy coffee or snacks, if they do. But I mean, it was busy enough. But one of the funniest things was my husband he's a little bit more on the conservative side, but he was kind of looking forward to seeing New York because we had family come through Ellis Island and the whole thing. And so I was, convincing him of all this. And we get to Times Square. We'd been there like 15 minutes. We had dropped our stuff off at the hotel. Room wasn't ready. We're going to go eat. And we walk out. We go to Times Square, and there's these 2 women wearing, and I'm not kidding, and you're like, yeah, no. They're wearing nothing but thongs, and they've body painted the rest of their bodies. They've got these like feathered hats on like you'd see in a Vegas showgirl, and they're walking around getting people to take pictures with them and of course paying them for it. And I'm just thinking, yeah, of course, like this is the first thing we'd see when we walk up with all of our kids. And it's funny because the kids were like, oh, okay, and just like whatever,
right,
which I felt like was good parenting on our part.
There you go.
Look, she has boobies like everybody else.
The best parents.
Yes. So I have to ask. There was a comedian. I cannot remember his name, but he talks about New Hampshire and how like everything's legal. So fireworks, smoking, bottle rockets, rocket launchers, everything. So have you seen evidence of all this in New Hampshire since you've been there?
Well, we just got here last night in time for dinner, and before we got here, our friends did say, they're like, okay, what do we want to do for 4th of July? Because we could buy fireworks, set them off in the yard. And,
right.
And yet, I just came from the great state of Mississippi, where everything is okay. Like my brother and his sister and their son just visited, and their son is 17 and he's 6'2", and he had never been in a bar. And not that I wanted to get him a drink, but I was like, if you want to go, we could go right into this bar right here, and you can walk in and you can say you've been in the bar. And they're like, yeah, but it says on the door 21 or older. And I said, it's Mississippi.
Yeah.
Like no one carding, no one caring. We walked in. Like I said, didn't try to get him a drink or anything. That would have been a flag.
Right.
But yeah, not a problem. And before we left, all the fireworks tents were being put up, for places to buy fireworks. Right off the main drag. So so I was kind of used to that. Now, here in New Hampshire, we shall see. I mean, I never want to I never personally want to set off a firework because I was raised to believe that everything is just going to go horribly wrong and lead to this like domino effect of tragedy. And so there's no way that I would ever set off a firework.
Yeah,
because
we'll see how it plays here.
Someone will die.
Because we needed a lot of rain, and we've had it's pretty dry. So we'll see how it goes. There's always a push though to, please don't set off fireworks in the neighborhoods. Please go out of the city limits to set off your fireworks, because we have a lot of veterans, in San Antonio, and PTSD and such, and of course the dogs and animals. But it never fails. Someone's setting off fireworks till 3:00 in the morning. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you're in, quite honestly. Somebody's doing it. And the police are so inundated with calls, they just can't do anything about them all. So it's one of those things where sometimes I wish I just had a fire hose, and I could just go around and blast people with, it's midnight, you're in the neighborhood, that's enough, But considering now the gun laws in Texas, I wouldn't be good.
So when we were, for a long while, we lived on a mountaintop in Utah, and there was a lot of great things about it, but there was definitely some bad behavior that would be on display. And we had friends that suggested that we all get like paintball guns, and we each pick a different color. So, and you just tag people that are displaying horrible behavior, whatever it was. And and so people would see, red paintball, the Honey and Blaine got them. The Parkers nailed them. So we could claim our hit.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot. I think it should happen. And I think it should go in a book. So tuck that story away for sure. Maybe somebody comes in with covered in paintball paint. That would be a good scene.
They'll know who it was. I don't know what series that's going to go into.
I don't know. So, are you going to write more? Are you going to write another series? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm actually probably just over halfway through writing the first book of a new series.
Yay!
I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to Careful-ish. I had threatened to write like a prequel of them all in high school. But right now, there's a series that has kind of been on the back burner for a long time. And so I'm chugging along, and I'm hoping that maybe the first book will be out in the fall, like maybe in October, November.
Okay. And you go indie with this, which means, for anybody that's wondering what that means you self-pub. So you hire the cover artist, the editor, you do all of that.
I am the cover artist.
Own. Right.
I was an art director in a former life, so the covers are.
There you go. Sweet. So, but is this the route that you had always planned to take, or was it just one of those things where I want to get this out as fast as possible? I know this is the best way to do this.
Well, so I didn't have a grand plan. What I did have is a friend who's in publishing, and when I first started writing Careful-ish, I reached out to him, and not to say, do me a favor, but just what do you suggest? This is what's going on. And I sent him the sitcom, so he would know the tenor of what I was doing. And he said, you need to self-publish this. And I said, why? And he said, because this needs to come out this fall. So this, I started writing that so COVID lockdown was March. I think by May I was writing. And he said, this needs to come out this fall because it's so topical. And to get a publisher, the time of getting a publisher, and then the time it takes a publisher to put a book out, which is like at least a year, he said, it's never going to work. So you need to self-publish. So I think with this next series, the next series is a vampire series.
Nice.
It is my style of vampire series, so there is a fair amount of sarcasm through the whole thing.
Yay!
Yay, sarcasm. It's all I got. It's all I know.
You know what? Humor is what's gotten us through all this. I just want to say again that I've told you before.
That is the damn truth.
thank you for writing something that we can all just escape with and sit back and just laugh until it hurts, because it's necessary when things seem really dark.
Yeah.
So thank you for putting those stories down, because we all need them.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for helping me share them. I so appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah, the vampire series, I may try to tap a publisher on that, because it's much more of a very, very specific genre that there's definitely an audience for. And I'm not quite ready to say what my real big twist on the take on vampire stories is. Not ready to let that one out of the bag yet. But yeah, I may talk to a publisher on that one. I will say it is a lot of work to self-publish. I mean, as soon as you decide that you're going to write, I don't think a lot of people realize, and I really didn't stop to think about it, what you have done is you have started a small business.
Yes.
Because there are so many components to it. It's not just if it was just the writing of the books, how glorious would that be? But
for sure.
You've got, there's promotion. There's, like you were talking about, the cover art. There's just so much stuff. There's a ton of balls in the air. It would be nice to have someone help with some of the heavy lifting.
Oh, for sure. Well, and again, even with a book publisher, it's limited about what they do publishing-wise. Now, of course, they can get your book into different stores, in front of different people, but, I mean, ultimately, once that release happens, and you know this, but it's saying more for the people listening, is it's up to you to pick it up from there and keep going. You got to keep selling the book. And it's a process.
When I was doing stand-up, and so I was on my own, and then I had a manager, and it was great to have a manager, but at the end of the day, if you wanted to get on a stage, you had to get your butt on that stage. The manager got me tours and this and that, and so things that I wouldn't have had, but you got to do it. You have to be your advocate. So
yeah, you got to do the hard work, and sometimes that's the scariest part.
Yeah, like unless Oprah taps you on the shoulder, it's a lot of work.
Right, and even then, it's still going to happen. She may catapult you ahead of a lot of people, but you still got to put in the work, because she certainly didn't get there by just hanging out and eating bonbons. That's just not how it happens.
No. And even just the writing of the book, like once you do your first pass, I mean, I typically then do like maybe another 5 passes on the book, because I'm such a fast writer. It helps me keep track of everything, and I don't really self-edit too much as I go. But then I will do like 5 passes, and then I hand it to an editor for a pass, and then I hand it to a proofreader for a pass, and then I do another. It's a lot. Yeah. But
and the more eyes on it, the better.
Oh, yeah, it has to be. I've had friends say to me, oh, you know what, I found a typo in your book. I'm so sorry to tell you this. I'm like, no, tell me. Like, I want to know, because I want to fix it.
And you have that ability as a self-pub, too. You can go in and fix that. And that's another thing that happens. Yeah. So,
I'm
but
just about to go in with...
Yeah, there's pros and cons to however you do it. But the whole point is write the story. Just start writing if you have to, But if you got that story to tell, write it down. Tell the story.
Best advice my husband ever gave me, and I say this to myself almost every day that I write, is write happy. And otherwise you're forcing it. And I think that's really how I got through the heavy part of lockdown and the pandemic, was I was writing happy. So I was happy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you go to that
sound
spot,
like frivolous, but I mean, you got to kind of work at happy. It doesn't just occur.
That's true. You have to
you gotta
put yourself in those positions. Sure. Thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you back.
Yes. And so for everybody who's listening, we've been talking to Honey Parker. She's got 3 books out now. The 3rd book is hit. We've got Carefulish, Daughter of Carefulish, and Bride of Carefulish. The links to buy the books are in the write-up of the show, as well as her Instagram page, her fan page, her website, so you can get the newsletter, see what she's doing, and where she's being interviewed, like the cool guys out of Australia that interviewed you not too long ago. And and so y'all should take note and make sure to grab that book. And please come back anytime. And then I really want to hear about your vampire gig when it gets rolling.
You got it.
All right, my dear. This has been Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio. And big, big congratulations to very soon to be Justice Johnson, who's about to hit SCOTUS. And please tell me I said the correct last name, because I always say either Jackson or it's Johnson, right? She's about to get sworn in, like in 15 minutes, to the Supreme Court here. So I'm very excited for change. So but everybody in the meantime, keep on reading, stay safe, and pick up that book. Stay carefulish, everyone.
This show brought to you by Circle of 7 Productions. www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.